for tuning in to Crochet with illJay. I'm your host, illJay, and today I will show you how to crochet this poncho. You can use whatever colors you like. You can make it whatever length you like. It's an intermediate level pattern, so if you guys are just starting crochet, please watch my other YouTube videos on basic crochet stitches, link below, before you attempt this pattern. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date on my latest projects. Let's get started. I'm going to be using a size 6mm hook. You could certainly use a 5 or a 7, doesn't matter too much, and a worsted weight yarn. I have here Hotcakes by Plymouth Yarn. It's variegated, so it's self-striping and you can get different colors without having to tie off ends. It is 404 yards. You will need 2 to 3 of these to make a poncho. If you want a longer poncho, I'd definitely use 3. If you want a shorter, we can maybe get away with 2. We'll see after we do this pattern. We're going to start under center here. Begin with a slip knot. And we're going to chain 60 to make the neckline. 1, 2, 3, 4, 58, 59, 60. Now find the other end of your work by follow the chains so you make sure that it's not twisted. Don't want to have a twisted chain. So just go back. Alright, now we're at the end of our chain. We untwisted it. And now we're going to start in the end by inserting our hook into our very first chain, doing a slip stitch, chaining 1. Here's our neckline. And we'll do a half double crochet around the neck. Just a quick refresher, that's a yarn over, insert into your first stitch, pull through 3. Continue on with 60 half double crochet stitches to complete the first round of the neck. $59 and 60. Now take a minute to make sure your work is straight with no twists in it. You don't want to have any twists, otherwise this won't work out the way you want it to. We're going to end that round with a slip stitch into the first stitch we did. Chain 1, and we will continue on with another 60 half double crochets. We're going to be working in the top 2 or the back 2 loops of our stitch. So yarn over, go through the back 2. That leaves your front loop here, in front facing you. Make sure you're consistent with that. And continue on with your 60 half double crochet stitches. Again, that's what it's looking like with that front loop there in front. And this is what the other side looks like. Once you've done another 60 stitches, end the round with a slip stitch into that first stitch we did. Skip the chain, there's a little chain in there. Skip that and do a slip stitch in that first stitch, chain 1, and do another round. You can start your round either in this first stitch or the second stitch. It doesn't really matter which one you start in, just as long as you do 60 around. Always count between rows to make sure that you're doing 60. I'm going to do about 5 rounds for the neck. You could certainly do more if you want a longer neck. That part is up to you. I'm going to do about 5 rounds until we start the rest of the poncho pattern. Okay, so I just did 5 rounds of 60 half double crochet. This is what the other side looks like. You should have a ridge on one side if you've been following with the half double crochet into the back of the stitch. If not, that's not a huge deal. You could even do a single crochet for the neckline if you wanted. Doesn't really matter too much, but 60 is definitely a good number for the neckline. And now we will start the rest of the pattern that we'll be doing for the poncho. It's very similar to granny square stitch. We're going to switch to double crochet now too, so chain 3 to start the next round. Now do 2 double crochets into that same stitch we just came out of with the chain. So 2 double crochet. And then we're gonna skip the next 2 stitches and do 3 double crochet into the next stitch. It doesn't really matter how you're going into this stitch anymore. You could go in right in between stitches or in the top 2, doesn't really matter. Just try to stay consistent with how you will do it. I'm going to be working right in between stitches right here. So we're going to skip 1 and 2 and then go into this next space here. Do 3 double crochets into that same space or stitch. Skip 2 and do 3 more into the next space. Skip 2, same thing. Skip 2, 3 more double crochet. Skip 2, and now we're going to do the corner, or the front corner or the back corner. It's going to be symmetrical, so skip 2, and then into that next space do 3 double crochet. This is where it gets different. We're going to now chain 3. And we're going to do 3 more double crochet into that same space that we just did. And that's going to make our corner. See, it's just like a corner of a granny square pattern. And we're going to continue on for about another 30 stitches. So what we're doing here is we have 60 stitches. We're going to have 2 corners on opposite ends. So they're going to be about 30 stitches apart. So continue with the same pattern that we did here, where we skip 2 and do 3 double crochet into 1. Skip 2, 3 more double crochet. Going to continue doing this pattern until we are at the opposite end of this corner. So we got a little ways to go. So we're almost opposite our other corner here. The way you know you're exactly opposite is, let's see, we have our corner, and then you should have done 9 sets of 3 double crochet. So don't count the corner. You should have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sets of 3 double crochet, and then we will do our corner of after we skip another 2, and we'll do the corner at the next one. The corner again is the same thing. We're just doing 3 double crochet, chain 3, and another 3 double crochet into that same space. Skip 2, continue on with the pattern, 3 double crochets every 3 stitches. Skip 2. As you get to the end of your round, we're just going to double check and make sure we have the same amount on both sides. We have our corner, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, where we started, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so it's a 3 double crochet on both sides, and then the 2 corners. We're going to end our round with a slip stitch into the top chain that we did there. Remember, we did chain 3, just do a slip stitch into that top chain, like so. Chain 3. We're now going to be working into this space here with 3 double crochet, another 3 double crochet into this space, and in each space so we're at the corner again, and we're going to do the same thing we did the row before, the 3 double crochet, chain 3, and 3 double crochet all into that same space. One, 2, 3. After you've done your corner, continue on your straight edge until you get to the other corner with the same pattern of 3 double crochet into each space between the 3 double crochet you did in the previous round. And that's pretty much the whole pattern, you guys. When you get to the end of a round, don't miss that last space where your chain is kind of coming out of. So do your final 3 double crochet in that space. And end the round with a slip stitch between that chain and 3 double crochet space. Chain 3. Continue on to the next space with your 3 double crochet, just like we've been doing. Just keep doing that row repeat for as many rounds as you want. I do about 35 to 40 rounds in total for an adult size poncho. You could certainly do more or less than that, however you like. This pattern does take some time, but it is so worth it, and it's beautiful in the end, especially when you pick out some nice colors or variegated yarn. And I'll show you what my work looks like after about 10 rounds. So here's what my poncho is looking like after 12 rounds. That's not including the first 5 we did for the neckline, but starting at the first corner, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's about 10 inches from that first corner, or 12 inches in total length. Your gauge might be slightly different than mine, and that's okay. It's a little tricky to calculate how much yarn you will need at first, because with each round you're using more yarn per round. But I'll let you know when I'm finished what my final yardage is, but ultimately the final length of the poncho is up to you. I'm going to continue until I'm done with this skein of yarn, and I'll show you my progress then. Here's the progression on the poncho after 20 rounds. I've used one skein of yarn so far, and I've just started onto the second one. It's pretty cool to see how the colors start to unfold as your pattern comes along. Just keep on going until you've reached your desired length for the poncho. I'm going to keep going until I finish this second skein of yarn, and I'll show you what my project looks like then. So I just went ahead and finished the poncho with the yarn that I had. I had about 800 yards, so here's the length you'll get with about 800 yards. I did 29 rounds and then saved some yarn to do the fringe. The fringe is really easy. If you don't know how to make fringe, here, I'll just show you real quick. You cut 12 inches of yarn, a couple pieces. I used about 7 pieces, 12 inches long, fold it in half. And then I'm going in every other space at the end here. You can, depending on whatever color you used. But I don't know what you call this, but this is what you do. Just one of these guys. Boom. Fringe. Ta-da!